Joe Reinagel, Jason Minix, The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
It is The Blitz here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. He is Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. The Super Bowl is set. Of course, we're all complaining about the officiating. Let's bring in a guy that knows something about the league. He played in it 10 years now with ESPN, Harry Douglas. Harry, man, I see on your social media you're in Dallas where it's cold, man. What brings you to the great state of Texas?
So I'm this year I'm working with the XFL and going to be a field analyst. So we have game simulations and seminars and stuff here. So that's why I'm in Dallas. I did not pack for this weather. I did not know it was going to be a winter advisory alert. So I'm trying to make it and trying to figure out how I can go somewhere and buy me some warmer clothes.
Plenty of places in Dallas to do that, Harry. Harry, you watched the games yesterday, I'm sure. Just your overall thoughts on what you saw. And I'm not here to trash the officials or do any of that stuff, but especially last night, it just seemed like, boy, they just couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah, but I would also say this. When you look at that game, Cincinnati versus Kansas City, Cincinnati still had an opportunity to win the ballgame. You know, at the end of the day, players got to make plays. They got to come through when it's their moment. And, Joe Burrow threw an interception. The offensive line couldn't block the correct way. Kansas City made the plays. Their offensive line decided that they wanted to block last night versus the Cincinnati Bengals. But also their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, made all the plays that he had to make. So, in the last three matchups that we've seen between these two teams, Joe Burrow has been the guy in the fourth quarter that was able to get it done. That wasn't the case last night. Last night it was Patrick Mahomes, and it was Patrick Mahomes from start to finish.
Harry Douglas joining us here on The Blitz, 10-year NFL vet, played with Atlanta and Tennessee, now with ESPN and ESPN Radio, co-hosting Fitz and Harry on ESPN Radio. Harry, when you're going through a game and you think about the officials are seemingly against you, you've got the two turnovers from Joe Burrow, yet you still feel like you have a chance to win the game. How difficult is that going to be for Cincinnati to swallow this entire offseason?
Well, it's going to be hard, man. There's a play from the 2012 NFC Championship game that I made, but I didn't make it in a manner to help us win, in which it should have been a walk-in touchdown. I think about it to this day. So it's going to be some things that those guys are going to think about for the rest of their lives. And again, let's be honest, fellas. It's not a guarantee they're going to be there next year. I understand that you have Joe Burrow and you was in the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row. It's not a guarantee that you're going to be there the following year. So, but the best way to try to get over it is to go back and conquer, like we've seen the Kansas City Chiefs, right? We see them last year lose that game and not be phenomenal in the second half. And Patrick Mahomes was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. We've seen him come back in 2023 playoffs and be that guy for his team. We also see it in college basketball. Y'all remember the Virginia Cavaliers? They had the number one seed and lost one year, came back the following year, won the NCAA tournament and championship. So if you don't want that feeling in your mouth anymore, do everything you can this offseason to correct those, mistakes that you made to get yourself back into that position. And now when you're in that position again, overcome it. And also try to go win the Super Bowl because they didn't win it last year.
Harry, you make a great point. I think part of the Chiefs' motivation last night was the fact that they heard Burrowhead and the comments from the mayor of Cincinnati and all of that stuff, because Travis Kelce made a point to address the mayor of Cincinnati after that football game last night. But as a player, when you hear something like that and trash talking, whether it's from other players or fans or whatever the case may be, does that motivate you, or do you think about it that much?
No, it motivates you. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're a stinking liar. I promise you they're lying. But I think it's great when it goes on between the players or coaches. Where I thought Cincinnati stepped out of boundaries, stepped out of their lane, is when the mayor made the video. Come on, Mr. Mayor, don't do that. Like let's not act like Patrick Mahomes hasn't thrown 50 touchdowns in the season, won an MVP previous to this season, and been to 4 straight AFC Championship games prior. Well, now 5. Let's not act like Patrick Mahomes was a scrub now. Let's not do that. And I get it. Joe Burrow's beaten them the last 3 times, but Patrick Mahomes had a lot to say in that game last night. And Travis Kelce let Mr. Mayer know that stay in your lane.
And again, Kansas City's moving on as we visit with Harry Douglas here on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. You know, it's interesting when I think about the coverage of this game. It's not even 24 hours old, but so much about the officials, so much about the Cincinnati mayor. At what point do we go, holy crap, what did Patrick Mahomes do on one leg with no wide receivers?
Yeah, and I also want to give some credit. We'll give some credit to his offensive line. You know, those guys had to play a part in it. But what Patrick Mahomes did last night, you talk about the first 3rd and 5, in which they didn't convert because Kadarius Toney dropped the ball, but Patrick Mahomes put the ball where only he can catch it. You talk about a 4th and 1, him and Travis Kelce improvising, right, and knowing each other and having that rapport to the fact that on 4th and 1 they throw a touchdown down in the red zone. You also see a 3rd and 7. In which Patrick Mahomes is deciphering and understands that the Chiefs are about to blitz and changes the protection and puts the ball on MVS, Valdez-Scantling, right now on his right shoulder so he can turn and split and get a first down. But then you look at that same drive, he throws that 19-yard touchdown to MVS and just doing the magical Mahomes thing. But the one that really got me, the one that took the cake, fellas, the one that took the cake, 3rd and 4, on the bum ankle. Patrick Mahomes said, I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to be magical. I'm going to make sure we have an opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl. And that's what he did, along with getting the personal foul penalty on top of it.
You know, Harry, that's amazing. And when you look at what Patrick Mahomes can do, I mean, the guy's a magician at times. He really is. But you look at these young quarterbacks, and I think the NFL's got a bright future when it comes to that. You got Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, who will meet in the Super Bowl, historic Super Bowl meeting, by the way. And you got Joe Burrow, and you could throw in Josh Allen, and you got Lamar Jackson, and all kinds of names that we can throw out. It's exciting for a football fan to see those types of individuals and the talent that they all possess.
No, it is. It's a thing of beauty, but it also shows you. And I want to say this. I don't want people to think that, you know, guys with that talent, they just grow on apple trees and you can just pick an apple whenever you want to. It doesn't work like that. Those guys are all built different. They have special qualities, and they can't be mimicked. I like the competitive nature of all of them. The will to win by each and every last one of them is phenomenal, and the National Football League is in good hands when it comes to that quarterback position.
Absolutely. Harry Douglas joining us here on the Blitz, co-host of Fitz and Harry on ESPN Radio, 10-year NFL vet. And, you know, we've talked all this time, and we haven't even really talked about the Eagles-Niners game because, well, it wasn't much of a game because of the injury to Brock Purdy. So you look at the matchup, Kansas City against Philadelphia. This is Cowboy country, man. We hate those Eagles, man, big time. So it's all Chiefs for the next 2 weeks, at least for me. How does Kansas City?
You just hold up.
Come on.
Just hold up. Because I'm looking out my hotel room and I see AT&T Stadium right now. And I was laughing yesterday because I see a lot of Cowboys on social media. We would have put up a better fight than this. We would have did this. We're going to tell your quarterback to be great. Tell your quarterback when he has CD Lamb open for a go route in the second half, you got to be excellent. You got to hit him in stride so he can go score. So now the pressure's on Kyle Shanahan and that offense. He has to be great.
Well,
they did start off right. They got rid of Kellen Moore.
Yeah, we'll get there because I have a feeling that later on tonight you're going to go to the store and you're going to end up in a Cowboys hoodie because that's all you're going to be able to get where you're staying up there, and you're going to understand the passion that comes with Cowboy fans. So tell me, how do the Chiefs beat Philadelphia?
Number one, they got to be healthy. They got to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes. They got 3 wide receivers that got banged up in that game. Patrick Mahomes made it work, but when you're going against a complete team like the Eagles, who have a dominant defensive line, you have to protect the quarterback. So I'm looking forward to seeing Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy working together to see what's going to be the plan versus that defensive line and how they're going to draw up plays to, you know, diminish that pass rush. Also, I want to see if they're going to be committed to the run game because I think it's also a game that they're going to have to be committed to the run. You can't just be one-dimensional. And the biggest thing, when Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, when it gets to 3rd and, 2 to 5, or is he still going to play man coverage with that receiver group? And Dallas got it at the tight end position. They did a great job last night, those young guys stepping up. Had about 3 or 4 of them in the secondary who were rookies or second-year players who really played some meaningful football last night. But going against that group of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Dallas Goedert, are they going to be able to hold up?
You know, Harry, that's the main thing. And when I look at that Philadelphia Eagles offense, I don't know what you do as a defensive coordinator to stop them. I mean, Jalen Hurts has come into his own this year. I think he had a lot of doubters and a lot of doubters there in Philadelphia, but he's proven them all wrong. And he just really seems to be in complete control of that offense. And it's going to be tough for Kansas City to stop those guys.
Yeah, you talk about the best offensive line in football, too. So I'm looking forward to seeing, Kelsey versus Chris Jones. I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. But they're so balanced offensively and what they want to do in their approach. It's going to be interesting to see what transpires. They love to run the football, but if they can keep Steve Spagnuolo, guessing and off balance, the Eagles have a chance to do some great things in this game.
Harry Douglas joining us here on the Blitz. Harry, before we let you go, you mentioned the Cowboys getting rid of Kellen Moore. When you think about Mike McCarthy calling plays, if that in fact does happen, you know what they have with Dak and CD. What is 1 or 2 things the Cowboys have to do in the offseason to try to get to where Philadelphia is right now?
Get them better weapons. We see all the teams that played yesterday. They had weapons. Even when, the Chiefs went down with injuries, we still had guys. You had Kelsey. Surround Dak with more weapons, because I just don't think it can be CeeDee Lamb. I think Dalton Schultz was on a franchise tag, right? Or
yep.
Yeah, he was on a franchise tag. So you got to figure out what you're going to do with him as well. But when Amari Cooper, went to Cleveland basically for a bag of chips, because when you look at the wide receiver market now and how much they're making, I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones would have said, you know what, we'll definitely eat that salary right now. We'll take that. So I think finding him another weapon, Dak Prescott, at the wide receiver position, and continue to get better up front on the offensive line.
Harry Douglas from Fitz and Harry on ESPN Radio, former NFL wide receiver, now working with ESPN. He's up in Dallas now doing some stuff with the XFL. You're going to be an analyst. So when you go out to practice, make sure Hines Ward is getting those San Antonio Brahmas in good shape and ready to go for their opener coming up here in about 3 weeks.
So quick story. So my dad actually coached Hines Ward when I was a kid in baseball. So we grew up in the same neighborhood before I moved. Turtle Creek and Forest Park. Yep. So I know Hines.
Yeah, Hines has been. I'm looking forward to seeing him more in San Antonio as they get this off the ground. I can't wait to see what kind of coach he turns out to be.
Yeah, me too.
Harry, always appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, fellas.